Hello, good afternoon, good
I
morning.
know you were gonna say good morning.
Wherever you might be, welcome, welcome.
How y'all doing?
How y'all doing is right. You're listening to Melody and Night Drive.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
boy.
soothing, especially after a busy week that I've had.
Well, this reminds me when I was growing up in Chicago area and I'd be driving down Dan Ryan or Cottage Grove or Stony Island or something like that and have WVON on. And just listen, or even Lakeshore Drive,
Mm,
especially I would be out back in the day when we
mhm.
go out to the club and I would be driving on Lakeshore Drive and it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning, listen to music like this, like jazz,
Mm,
night driving.
yeah,
Good days. Well, anyway, a lot of reminiscing and
yeah.
nostalgia going on,
Well, welcome to Race and Cultures,
racing,
Bridging the Divides.
bridging the divides.
And you are,
I'm Dr. Barry Ann Staples.
and I am the lovely Jennifer Staples.
Very lovely. And we are so glad to have you with us today at Race and
Yeah.
Cultures Bridging the Divides. You see a ticker going across here. We know we're on YouTube broadcast here and some other platforms. And it says, please subscribe. Subscribe to this channel. Um, and you can make comments also. And
We appreciate that.
we definitely appreciate that. But welcome again. Boy, a lot going on.
Yeah.
What's on your mind today, Jennifer?
Oh, well, after a busy week,
Busy.
and the weekend's going to be even busier.
Yes.
I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about family and how you can be related to people and not always think alike, not always act alike.
That's interesting. It seems that, we talk about culture, every family member comes from the same household, that's
Hmm.
part of your family. And so there's differing opinions, even in your own family, your
Yeah,
own family culture.
right.
When we talk about family, we have ways of looking at, we talk about the family constellation, or we talk about our family of orientation. And
Hmm.
so somewhere along the line, and we'll get into this as we move through each different podcast in terms of what influences family culture. My goodness.
I swear I'm adopted.
Oh my. Yes. Yes.
I
I,
think differently than a lot of people in my family.
yes. And we're gonna
Hmm.
we're gonna be talking about that. And we alluded to race. And I just want us to try to understand that we are in situation in this country. I'm just going to stick to the United States because what's that song? I've never been to England,
Mm,
but I sure enough like the Beatles kind of thing.
okay.
Actually, only one song by the Beatles I really like, and that's "Let It Be." But
Yeah, you
that's a
sing it well too.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, "Let It Be." I do my own version, full of gospel and rhythm and blues mixture with that song when I do it. But let's stick to the United States. The United States, we are still in a cold civil war. Some people say, no, we are actually in a civil war,
I think it's heating up.
heating up.
Hmm.
And no matter what you say, there's this issue of race
Yeah.
that is really always impacting people
And we're going backwards in this country.
very, very far backwards. And I think that we need to
Hmm.
really come to terms with how we start really focusing in on what exactly is race. So I'm going to put a slide up here, and I just want us to kind of talk about that a little bit. And if we think about race, let me see, what is race? And you have a slide here that is talking about the different aspects of race,
Mm.
um, and basically breeders. Every race that we ascribe to, whatever race we say we belong to, and I'll put up another slide to different types of racial categorization. Excuse me. But a race is a breeding population characterized by gene frequencies from those of other populations of the same species.
Mhm.
Well, we all belong to the human race. We are the species of the human race. And so that means that we can breed with each other regardless of what we look like or where that person might be from. Hmm. What do you mean, Dr. Staples? Well, it's a good question. I'm glad you asked. That means that if a person who looks black and another person looks white, or another person looks like he may be considered Asian, so our seats are making noise,
Mhm.
and that means that they have the capacity to meet one another and have families, like you were alluding to, have a family
Right.
with that particular person.
Mhm.
So we've had issues in this country to justify, I'm going to get back to this, to justify dehumanizing people. We've dehumanized people in this country that was based upon the institution of slavery. No matter what people want to say, this country wasn't founded to be slave. And I'll talk about that through some other episodes. But most people that were here together. Someone had this great idea that we can make slaves out of certain people. Well, to do that, to justify it, we had to become less than human, dehumanize them. And one
Mhm.
of the things that they would often say, especially about black people, is that they're descended, they're from gorillas, ape-like. So, so my thing is, and I have that other bullets there, that all primates, which I mentioned, gorilla, orangutans, chimpanzees, um, what's some other primates?
Buffoon.
Buffoon or baboon?
Baboon. Oh, the buffoon is the one that's in the White House. Oh, did I say
Moving right along,
that?
we'll we'll carry on. She has a lot on her mind today. That's why I asked her. Uh, but all primates have 24 chromosomes. All humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes.
Yeah.
So there's no way that anybody can be with another that's human can be with another, be with a primate and have anything and be whatever. It's all messed
I
up.
mean, primates have human-like features in their face at times. I mean, they have eyes, nose, ears.
Yes.
They have
So
opposable thumbs like we do,
yes, I'm
but
gonna
they are different.
I'm gonna go back and find this other slide. So here we have one way to try to understand what we can do. We have to be cautious or we have to be careful.
Right.
You like to read that?
Sure.
That should be your while
Yeah.
you are.
Be careful of your thoughts, for your thoughts become your words. Be careful of your words, for your words become your actions. Be careful of your actions, for your actions become your habits. Be careful of your habits, for your habits become your character. Be careful of your character, for your character becomes your destiny.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it is.
So no matter what we do, before you say anything, you think of it,
Mhm.
and then your words come out.
Right.
And sometimes your words are hurtful. You mentioned families.
Mhm.
Sometimes in our families, we're thinking these crazy, and especially there's been so much divisiveness in families. I'm just going to be very frank again. Ever since this election, there's been people that have won't even talk to their own brothers or sisters or cousins, or some people won't even talk to their own family member parents. Okay, so and that's because some of the words that come out, uh, people take different actions. We can attest. I won't go into great detail. We were um, decided that we would become more neighborly, because we didn't know anyone, and someone decided to have a picnic for all neighbors from anywhere to come over. So we decided to go. And so we were sitting there, and they had, of course, the classic hot dogs and hamburgers and different pops. And this lady said, what did she say?
I'm a Republican.
I just kept thinking,
Out of the blue. Like,
out,
who
out, out
cares?
of the blue. And I'm up here thinking, her words made me have an action myself.
Yeah, and that action was to get the heck out of there.
Yes, you didn't say heck when we left, but anyway, so so, and then we have people that have habits based upon this election. They do things that I it's just unbelievable.
Mhm.
And I'm going to cut across the field on this, but what we're looking at here is character. Um, they say that when people drink alcohol, that you begin to see their real character. They become less inhibited,
Oh, yeah.
less inhibited. They say what is truly in the heart. They say what comes from the mouth is in the heart.
Right.
So when people say, well, they didn't mean that, well, they said it. They must have had some validity to what they were saying.
Oh, I think that they truly meant it. They were
Yes.
just not wanting to share that.
So when she said that, I kept wondering
Yeah.
no one stood up and said in response, well, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm a independent. People just didn't respond at all. But I know we left.
That
Um,
was our response.
the bottom line with the politics with me is it doesn't matter what a person is,
Mhm.
as long as a person is doing things that are really to help people. If they are really buying into, I'm holding this office to really be a servant, have a servant's heart.
Right.
Okay. You often hear people recite uh, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Judge a man not by the by the color of his skin, but the content of their character.
Yep.
Well, this kind of goes a little deeper. Your character becomes your destiny. In other words, how you are as a person, how you treat other people, what you say to other people, how you think controls where you're going in life.
Yeah.
And some people, um, well, put it this way: some people say that they're so messed up that they're going straight to hell with their drawers soaked in
Gasoline.
gasoline. Now, y'all, we just gonna be real raw about it. So when we talk about race, we have to be careful on how we approach people. Be careful what we say. Be careful what we're doing. There's another slide that I use sometimes. Some people talk in terms of, well, some of my best friends are
Mhm.
Black. Some of my best friends are, your turn.
White.
Some of my best friends are,
Brown.
some of my best friends are,
Ridiculous.
that's not a racial group. So you always hear that thing about some of my best friends are.
Right.
And how many of those so-called best friends that you say you have you invited to your house for dinner? How many have been on trips and vacations with you?
Oh, look at this. I can't be racist. My husband's Black.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you hear that all the time. But that other slide that I was alluding to is you have to clear your windshield.
Right.
You have to really know. Some people, I'm glad you brought that up. Some people have um, confusion on racism
Mhm.
and prejudice. And I'll talk about that at some other juncture. But some people are not racist. they act like it. Some people say, well, that's a racist. Maybe they're just prejudiced. Prejudice is, and I'll get into this another time too, as we go on, put it this way, we're going to be saying the same things a lot of times over and over in different segments or different episodes. But prejudice is when you have a negative attitude toward a group of people or a person and don't even have any information about them.
Right.
But you have this negative attitude.
Right.
I'm not going to sit next to them because they do this and they do that. Well, how do you know that? It's what I heard.
Mhm.
Someone else told me that.
Mhm.
Mhm. Wow. So, and racism is a little different. Racism is the belief that you have a divine, an inherent capacity to be superior over another person or a group of people based on the color of their skin or its physical characteristics. Isn't that something? That's
Or national origin?
No, it's just based upon how they look.
Oh,
Doesn't
okay.
matter. For example, um, if you were under the Third Reich, Hitler, if you were a Jew and you didn't live in Germany, you lived, I don't know, somewhere else, uh, around there, and you looked like you were Jewish, then you were going into the gas chamber or going to be persecuted, etc. Uh, so a lot of people have those attitudes based upon the color of a person's skin.
Yeah.
So that's race and racism. The racism, basically, they put God in the picture that it is a divine principle that people are dealing with. So some people just don't get it, Jennifer, that
Yeah.
just because a person looks a certain way, that doesn't mean that they are inferior. And that's exactly what Hitler did. He wanted to create what he called the Aryan race.
Mhm.
No blonde hair and blue eyes. You were in the mix. Then, as I said last time, he didn't have blonde hair nor blue eyes.
Right.
We'll get into that whole color identification issue as we move along. So that's race. No, we are breeding populations, period. Regardless of the color of your skin, you can have, and you can have a breeding situation with anybody, not with an animal, and have children.
Mhm. Human race.
Human race. That's another podcast
Right.
episode. Boy, so now we're looking at culture. Now this is very important to understand culture. Let's look at what it says here. Okay, let's bring this up a little bigger. Okay, can you read that?
Yeah. You want me to read?
Yeah.
Culture encompasses the shared beliefs, values, practices, and material traits that characterize a group of people, shaping their behaviors, social interactions, and understanding of the world. It's a complex, dynamic system that includes language, religion, cuisine, social habits, music, arts, and more. Culture is learned through socialization and transmitted across generations, influencing everything from individual identities to social structures.
Now that says an awful lot.
Sure does.
Okay, let's unpack this. So if I am considered in a certain racial group, we alluded to this in our last episode, and we went to music. That one of the things I will say about music, with rap and hip hop music, it has crossed the divide.
It has.
Every group of people
Mhm.
that I can think of will listen to rap and hip hop music. Uh, you in your car, you got all no black, brown, red, yellow people. That's how I'm going to say it. But check this out. So I'll just do it like this. There's a cultural thing that goes on that when a person is talking, and I remember people saying this, and see if you okay, I want you to get that example about this last place you were at and what people said, but I'll start you off and help remind you. Some people say, "Wow, you're talking so white." And then someone say, "They're talking black." Can you share what happened when you were at that one job and the people came in and the ladies were saying certain things about how they talk a certain way?
I'm trying to think about you're talking about that
Yes.
one short-lived stint I had?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So yeah, somebody came in, was interviewing for a position, and the hiring manager took this lady back in the room, interviewed her, and after she left, the hiring manager says, "Yeah, I'm not going to hire her." And we said, "Oh, okay." He says, "Couldn't understand a word she was saying. She was speaking English,
Yes.
but she was from Asian descent and she had an accent."
The accent.
Yes.
So when we talk about culture, we have a person, and I'm going to share two words with people. And I was talking about this the other day to someone. We have a confusion in this country, like we have confusion around racism and prejudice. We have a confusion when it comes to a word. Everyone says they should assimilate.
Mm.
They should assimilate.
And that, what does that necessarily mean? That means that they should behave and talk and look just like the
Okay.
majority of people,
Okay.
right?
Now that's that's what a lot of people think it is.
Mhm.
Assimilation and acculturation are two different things. So what happens here is assimilation means that you blend in. You look like you can, for example, my wife, I mentioned this before, blonde hair, blue eyes, and someone may say, well, I'm not going to associate with her. She's probably descendant of a Nazi. They had blonde hair and blue eyes. Well, she may say, well, no, I'm Sweden. They have blonde hair and blue eyes too. Or I'm Southern Italian. So it's okay. You can come to the barbecue. Okay. But then behind the scenes, she's truly a Nazi.
Mhm.
A culture,
I'm sorry, and I gotta interrupt for just a second. I got something to say.
say it.
Women can dye their hair and so can men, so there's that.
Well, what about me? I gave up on my hair thing. Me and my hair thing don't work anymore.
Uh-huh.
Only thing I can say is I'm trying to look like Michael Jordan, but I have no Jordan money.
Okay, now.
Y'all get that? Woo. So culture, culture is so incredible, powerful, where people have shared beliefs. So if I'm a say a black person, they can share the same beliefs as a white person, have the same values
Mhm.
as a white person. They can have behaviors like white people, same language. That's why I got into the thing about talking black and talking white.
Mhm.
Cuisine, eating the same kinds of food. So is race truly an indicator of who a person really is, or is it truly their culture?
It's their culture.
Exactly. So let's look at some of these other areas about some other detailed breakdowns. Shared beliefs and values. Culture provides a framework for understanding what is considered right or wrong, good or bad, and important or unimportant.
Mhm.
That's our culture.
Yeah.
It also, we have, you want to read the next one?
Social norms and practices. These are the unwritten rules and expected behaviors within a group, guiding social interactions and daily life.
Take the next one.
Material culture. This includes the physical objects, tools, and creations that a culture produces and uses, reflecting its values and technological capabilities.
So you see, both of those kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So if we have social norms and practices, how does that relate to acquiring aspects in the material culture that we want to live in? What kind of car are you going to get? Or then in the social norm, is that kind of car acceptable in that particular culture? And is it going to really uh, help you in your daily life? If you get a big body Benz, or if you get back in the day, if you got a Pinto, people will describe what group you belong to. And in our culture here, material culture, you know, I know that show called Pimp, well, two shows, Pimp My Ride and Pimp My Crib, based upon the material culture.
Mhm.
I mentioned earlier this week to you, I think. So, we can't be trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Right.
I never knew the Joneses' first name, but that was a song by the Temptations. The Joneses were rich people in the streets of Chicago. We called them, they were sedity. I mean, in other words, high society.
Mhm.
So that's another aspect. This is one other important, have touched on this already about culture, language and communication. Language is a fundamental part of culture, shaping thought, communication, and the transmission of knowledge.
Mhm.
Wow. I'll get into some things about how to have a conversation. I was in this group the other day. We were talking about Livingston and his having a conversation piece, and how communication is so important. But language is a fundamental part of culture. So we have people that in our community, there's a lot of people that speak Spanish.
Right.
And some people are upset because they live here and people speaking Spanish. And I have someone that I know that says, why don't they speak English? You gave an example
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
the mother was talking to her child in Spanish,
Yeah.
and someone else said, "This makes me
They
mad. They should
she
be."
said they don't know English.
And then the lady spoke to you in English.
Yeah.
I thought that was good. What's the next one?
I like this. Dynamic and evolving. Culture is not static.
Oh, I knew you would.
It changes and adapts over time, influenced by internal and external factors. So you tell me, why is it why is it that in this country we want our culture to remain static? It's just not the way culture is designed to be.
Yeah, and that's the beauty part of it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know the other language, you can choose to want to learn more, which what people should do.
Grow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the United States, and when it comes to science and math, we're out of 21 uh, industrialized countries. We're like 20 and 21
That's sad.
in those two areas, math and science.
Mhm.
And it's the same way with language.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to have a son that speaks many languages, uh, and because he wanted to be um, a, a conductor for the orchestra. So he
Mhm.
told me he wanted to learn these languages because some of the great composers speak different language. One day we'll get into a discussion about the true essence of who really was Mozart and Beethoven.
Mm.
Some people may not know the real truth about those two composers,
Our
but
son might be a guest on our podcast soon.
yes, he
So we'll see.
definitely will be.
Yeah.
So I like that static.
Mhm.
You know, in other words, um, it doesn't just rest in its place.
No.
Culture has to keep evolving and evolving. Um,
And it's beyond the visible.
and what does it say about beyond the visible?
While some aspects of culture are easily observed, like art, music, or food, many others are less tangible, such as beliefs, values, and social structures.
Yes.
So it's
Sometimes
not always what you see.
not what you see.
Yeah.
Why don't you read the next one?
Collective identity. Culture provides a sense of belonging and shared identity for individuals within a group.
Wow. So some people would rather be a part of a certain culture because they share those same beliefs and
Mhm.
they identify with that particular group, regardless of what they look physically or the color of their skin.
Exactly.
Yes. And then interconnected in other aspects. Culture is closely related to social structures, economic systems, and political institutions, both influencing and being influenced by them.
Mm.
So there's interconnections.
Yeah.
The bottom line is that we need to be careful of our thoughts, of what we're saying about people to ascribe a certain race or assess them to be a part of a certain culture, because all people are not static,
Right.
but we're trying to put people in a certain
No, you know what? We can't be putting people in a box.
in the box.
There we go.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So I like to share something. This is a video clip that I like to share. A young lady that's always impressed me that took this whole concept of race and culture to another level. And I'm just going to play this video and let the audience grasp this. Let's see.
And now to our exclusive interview with the woman at the center of a cultural firestorm in this country over these last days, Rachel Dolezal, the NAACP chapter leader accused of lying about her race. Today, we asked her whether she has been deceptive and just why there are so many questions now surfacing about her past. Let me just ask you plainly, have you ever lied about your race?
No, because never have I been asked, "Are you human or not human?" Right? So yeah,
those words
race,
I like that
race
she said that.
Right.
as a construct again, as a fluid understanding. So I would say no.
Construct.
You know when someone asks you, are you black? Are you African American? You know exactly what they're asking you. And for you to say yes, is that an honest answer?
When somebody asks, "Are you black?" which I actually don't get asked very often, until recently, since a few days ago, then I say, yeah, I do, I am black.
Do you understand why many people would think, given your parents and your heritage, that is at best a misleading answer?
I can understand that, but again, up to this point, I know who raised me. I haven't had a DNA test. There's been no biological proof that Larry and Ann are my biological parents.
There's a birth certificate that has your name on it and their names on it.
I'm not necessarily saying that I can prove they're not, but I don't know that I can actually prove they are. I mean, the birth certificate is issued a month and a half after I'm born. It certainly, there were no medical witnesses to my birth.
It's one thing to embrace the questions as an academic matter.
Right.
It's another thing to just actually be honest and transparent about who you are.
Right. Well, I definitely am not white. Nothing about being white describes who I am. So, what's the word for it? You know, I mean, the closest thing that I can come to is if you're black or white, I'm black. I'm more black than I am white.
Have you changed your physical appearance?
Yeah, well, definitely. I've experimented with my hair.
Oh, that's
Since living in Mississippi, really, and doing hair.
I don't know what I did here.
Well, it looks like it's not going to
Living
continue.
in
Oh,
Mississippi,
there it goes.
really, and doing hair on the porch, braiding.
Have you changed your skin color?
That's her on the right,
Uh,
growing up.
some of those. Well, I don't know necessarily. necessarily my skin color has changed. Depends on the season, right? So I have not taken any melanin shots or any of the black like me, some of the previous experiments with transforming into a darker skinned person. I haven't had surgeries or anything like that. Some days, if I have spray on, like bronzer or whatever to get a glow, but other days I don't. And I think even the word disguise has been put out there and all that and it just sounds very like intentional and deceitful and structured, and I just want to feel beautiful. And this is how I feel beautiful.
Do you feel like a little bit under siege by all of this?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. But I've really tried to kind of check that a bit and try to be present for my kids, my sister, and the movement, and really see what's best for that right now and make strategic decisions for that. But I am going to need to do a little regrouping
Up.
and be able to really process all the implications now as I move forward.
One other note, Dolezal's 13-year-old son, Franklin, was watching our interview today and afterward asked to say something about his mother.
I've always felt the maximum proud of her. No matter what she does, I'm going to be proud of her. I always felt like she deserved more. She deserved to be worldwidely known, but not like this. Not as a liar or deceiver. She should be known as a hero, a person that has done so much.
We have put an extended version of our interview with Rachel Dolezal on our website.
Wow, that's really fascinating.
It's powerful, and
We should have the freedom to be who we want to be, whether we consider ourselves black, white, brown, Asian.
yeah, and I think one of the things that is so important here is that her son.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't share this with you before, but her son showed this video to someone, and this person asked me, "Is he adopted?"
Mm.
And I was like in shock. And I said, "No, that's her biological son."
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think this? And this was a white person asked me that. Why do
Mm-hmm.
you think that person asked me that question?
I can only assume that this white person was assuming that this lady was truly biologically white, and
And she is.
she has a darker skinned son, but that son has a father, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So
Well, the crux of the matter was this: if she is not black and she is white, how did she get this son that has brown skin?
she
So-
the son's father could be brown.
Her son, I know for a fact,
Yeah.
the father of that little boy is black. I do know
Right.
that for a fact.
Yeah.
So basically, what it is a categorization again.
Yeah.
This is a white woman with a darker skinned kid,
Mm-hmm.
and biracial kids exist. There was a study done by, I forget his last name was Green, the University of Michigan, many, many years ago, and he asserted that that America he called it the browning of America,
Mm-hmm.
that eventually, there will be more brown toned people in this country. You can see it.
Yeah.
He wrote that book several years ago, and I have the wrong title, but that's who he is. So it was an assumption that this how could this be your son?
Right.
I
Yeah.
just kind of shook my head and said, "Yeah, that's her
Mhm.
son."
Yeah.
Yeah, put his way. We have children who look like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's another
Yeah.
discussion. So, race and cultures, a deeper dive today. We are really glad that people have joined us today. You got anything you want to say before we cut out of here and dancing in the night?
I don't know who you're kidding. I'm going to bed.
I'm the night owl.
Yes, he is. No, not a whole lot more to say other than, we need to do all we can to be positive in this negative world.
Yes.
We need to reach out and talk to people, and people that we don't know, people that maybe don't look like us, act like us, walk like us, talk like us, get to know them.
And coming from a long life of education as a teacher and as a professor, I've always liked that phrase when it came out, reach one, teach one.
Yeah, I like that too.
If we reach for another person, like you said, who doesn't look like you, we can teach them things about who you are or who they are and learn from that.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
We've got to come together.
Yeah.
I know there's political things that are still out there, but we are going to stay on the task and do all we can to try to continually reach out to everyone.
Yeah. Until next time, everyone. Peace.
Peace. You know that peace sign. There you go. Love you. Love you all.